Alright guys, I'm gonna start. So for those of you that just joined, just create a new Replit. Um, Again, you just have to, replit.com is the website, and then you just create a new one. So today we're gonna be learning lists, and list is another data type. So we learned a couple data types in past classes. We learned strings, integers, floats, and booleans. Now list is another data type which basically allows you to hold multiple values into one little like variable. So first, before we get into lists, this was the homework that I asked you guys to do before class starts for today. So I'm just gonna go over it real quick, and you can check to make sure if you did it right. So basically, it says write a program that accepts two integers as input. The first number is how many friends Billy has, and the second is how many apples he has. Check to see if he has enough apples so that each friend gets at least two. If he does not, say that he has not enough apples. So this is going to basically involve an if statement, but before we use an if statement, we first need to do the input of two numbers. So we'll do one as number one. So number one is equal to, or not equal to, it's like you're assigning it. That's the variable. Number one's the variable. And then you're assigning it to this input function. Input, and then enter a number. Let me just make sure everything is. And again, if you have any questions, leave them in the chat. Okay, so number one, input a number, and then basically they want two numbers, so we can just copy paste this, put it down, and then change this to like number two. So those are our two variables. So if we run it for right now, enter a number 45, enter a number again like 85, and that's all it does right now. But keep in mind that this input function, oops, so this input function right here would spit out the, sorry. So yeah, this input function right here would spit out the number with quotation marks. So this is 45 with quotes. So what you need to do, as we learned in past classes, is you want to make it an int by casting it. So you basically type in int, and then you put parentheses around it, and it basically makes it an int. So an int is short for integer. So there you go. So that's the first step in the homework. And then check to see. So the first number is how many friends Billy has, and the second is how many apples he has. So now we want to check to see if he has enough apples so that each friend gets at least two. So basically, number two is the number of apples, number one is the number of friends. So number two divided by number one has to be greater than two. So if he has 15 apples and he has 8 friends, 15 divided by 8 is less than 2. So that means every single friend cannot get 2 apples, so that would be false. So we want it to be more than 2. So if number 2 divided by number 1, so let's just put parentheses around that for just the sake of organizing. So number 2 divided by number 1 is greater than 2, then we want to print the statement over here. He has enough apples, because if number 2 is 16 and number 1 is 8, 16 divided by 2 is, also we want to do greater than or equal to 2, because 2 is good too. So 16 and 8 would be 2 exactly, so it would print right here, Billy has enough apples for each of his friends. But if it's basically less than 2, then else we want to print the exact opposite. So let's just copy paste this, and then so instead of has enough, he does not have enough. So Billy does not have enough apples for each of his friends if it's less than 2. So now if we run it, enter a number, so let's say we do 15, and then that's the number of friends he has. So let's say he has 30 apples, and it's perfectly enough. If we were to do 15 and then 29, so this is not enough for 2, Billy does not have enough apples for each of his friends. And that was the homework. It was pretty simple. Just two input functions that you had to do, and then an if statement, if-else statement. There's no elif. You don't need an elif for this one, but there you go. Let me just make sure no questions. All right. So today we're going to be learning lists. So lists is just, as it says right here, collection or a group of values. So if you have a group of friends, and your friends is John, Matt, and Will, you can just make a list. You can just make a list by naming the list friends, and then so for strings you need quotations. For lists you need this little bracket thing. That's how it looks like. It's basically right next to, oops, the brackets are right next to the letter P on the keyboard, and yeah, that's all. And then inside of it, you put your friends' names or your values that you want to put. So here, John, Matt, Will. So you would put, and John is a string. So inside of list, you can have more data types. So this is a list, but then inside the list, you'll have a string where it's John, and then comma. You'll have another string, which is Matt, comma, and then you have another string, which is Will. So basically, if I were to do print type, print, gotta have the parentheses, type of friends, it's gonna print that it's, first what I'm doing here is I basically did command and then the slash that's under the question mark, basically it just comments out everything. So when I were to run it, it just ignores all this, and that's what I want. I only want to focus on this right now, so I just commented this out. It's just a useful thing for you guys to know if you ever want to like comment stuff out and just want to work on something specific, but you don't want to delete this, you still want it. You can just comment it out, and then you can uncomment it, and then back, and then yeah. So, all right, let me just admit. So if we were to run that, there you go. The data type is a list. So here it's a list, but if you look at right here, so lists are used to store multiple values in one single variable. So the variable here is friends, and then John, Will, Matt, and then soda. You can have Coke, Pepsi, Fanta. But again, each single value can be like a string. It doesn't, like this one right here is not a list, it's a string. But basically what I'm trying to get to is right here. So list index starts from 0. So what is an index? It's just like so here John is the first value in the list. But how computers work is computers don't start at the number 1. Computers start at the number 0. So basically John is not the first, he's the 0th. So this is index 0, this is index 1, this is index 2. So indexes are not only limited to lists. You can, for example, if my name, so name is equal to Rohit, and if I want to print, so how do you index into a name, or how do you index into a list? So you have to put brackets and then the index numbers. So for example here, friends is the list, and then so you type in friends, and then you do a bracket, and then you basically type the index that you want. So do you want index 0? Do you want index 1? Do you want index 2? Well, over here he wanted index 0. So if you type in index 0, it will return John, because John is at index 0 of the list. So let's play around with that. So before I show you guys about strings, let's go back to friends. So friends at index 0, if I want to print this. So print friends at index 0 and run it. So it's a list, and there you go, John. John is at index 0. So if I were to print index 2, so 2 is not Matt. It's not 1, 2. It's 0, 1, 2. So that might get tricky in like in the future, because you might like be like, okay, so Matt, that's index 2. Let me type in index 2, but that's not 2. It's Matt is index 1. Will is index 2, because you have to remember that computers start at 0. So print friends at index 2 will print Will. So if I run, there you go, Will. So what I wanted to show is it's not only limited to lists. If I were to do, so name is my name, and then if I want to print the name at index 0, it's basically going to print the first letter of my name. So this is index 0, this is index 1, this is index 2. So don't get confused. If I said name at index 1, that's not R, that's O, because R is 0. Computers start at 0. So if I do 1, run that. So it's still printing Will, because over here we still have this. And then right here, name at index 1 is an O right there. So if I were to change this to a 0, and then we run it, there you go, R. So yeah, that's indexing. You can index into a specific string, you can index into a specific list, but you can't index into like an integer. You can't be like, so number is equal to 65. You can't do print number at index 0. That's not going to print 6. 65 is like a number that stick together. You can't really like print it at an index. Like strings, they're letters, so you can like get the R out, you can get the O out. It doesn't really work like that for numbers. So if we were to run it, int object is not subscriptable. Subscriptable basically means like index, you want to try to index into it. So int objects, integers are not subscriptable. Same thing for floats too. You can't do it for like 6.5. It's not going to give you 6 at index 0. If we were to run it, same thing. Float object is not subscriptable. So as of right now, with all the data types that we learned, strings are subscriptable or indexable. Indexable is easier to like know. And then lists are also indexable, obviously. So if you want John, you can just do friends at index 0. If you want Matt, friends at index 1, and so on and so on. So let me just make sure no questions. All right. So that's the little bit intro into lists. So list, again, just a group of values, and then you can index into those group of values with indexing. So index 0, index 1. So list has a lot of functions, and these functions are really fun. There's unlimited number of functions you can always search up. There's always a cool function for it, but the main ones that you should know and that everyone knows is list.append. So basically all you have to do is, so let's get rid of this, we don't need this for right now. So we're still working on friends. So if we just run this, we have friends, the type of friends is a list, and friends at like index 2 is will. So now what if we want to add, like I made a new friend and I want to add another friend into this list, and his name is Billy. So basically what you have to do is you type the name of your list first, so friends, and then you do the function name is dot. You need the dot. You can't just do friends append. You need to do friends dot append, and you're basically just adding a name to the end of the list. So friends dot append, and then you can add Billy. So now if I go down and print friends, then here, if I, let's erase all this. We don't need this right now. So friends right now is John, Matt, Will. So if I print friends here, so there you go. Let's see. There you go. So first it goes line by line. First line, it reads this. Friends is equal to John, Matt, Will. Print friends. So it's going to print John, Matt, Will. Second line, friends dot append Billy. It's going to add Billy to this variable friends. And now we want to print that same exact variable friends. It's going to change to John, Matt, Will, and Billy. So it's going to have Billy now. So that's basically what dot append is. It just adds a name or adds anything. It doesn't have to be names. It can also, if you didn't know, strings aren't the only things that have to be in list. You could have numbers. So 9, comma 8, comma 4. So that's just a list of numbers. You can call it just numbers, and then print numbers, and then numbers dot append. And you don't have to have, it doesn't always have to be the same data set. It can be numbers and strings. So what if I want to add the word integer into the string, into the list? So now if I want to print numbers, run it. There you go. So first was 984, now it's 984 and the word integer. So list can be a combination of any data types. It doesn't just have to be strings. It doesn't just have to be integers. It can be a combination of integers and strings, integers and floats, booleans, strings, and if you, as you get more complex, it can even be lists inside of lists, and we'll learn that like later. So there you go. That's basically lists. Another function is dot remove. So it's the exact opposite of what we just learned. So let me set it back to how it was before. So friends is John. Oops. You want to make sure you don't want to put your commas of your list inside your quotation. You do John and you close the quotation mark, so that's a name, and then you put the comma outside because you're adding things to the list, and then you do Matt, and then go to outside of it, put another comma, and then Will, and then outside, and so that's it for now. And then we did friends dot append, and we added Billy, so Billy, and then we printed friends. And let's print friends between here too. So we'll print friends before we add Billy so we can see the changes. So friends. So there you go. So if you just run this is where we were before. Oops, did I make a quick error somewhere? Friends. What line does it say? Line 10. Friends. So here you're supposed to put quotations, not these brackets. It's friends.append Billy with quotation. I got confused with the brackets, but it's just quotations. Make sure you remember that as well. So friends is equal to John, Matt, Will. When we printed it, there you go. And then when we added Billy, it added it and printed it out. So now we want to remove Billy again. Or actually, let's keep Billy in, let's remove Matt. So basically all we have to do is friends dot, instead of append is to add, remove is to remove, obviously. So dot remove, and then let's remove Matt. So the thing is, if we run it, it's not gonna just like remove Matt. We need to print friends underneath it to see if it did anything. It's not just because I put it in there, it's not gonna remove Matt from like these previous prints of friends. We're gonna have to print it underneath. So now if we print it, John, Will, Billy. So at first, friends was just John, Matt, Will. Then we used dot append to add Billy. So dot append Billy. So there you go. And then we removed Matt and we printed friends. And now it was John, Will, and Billy. And that's basically lists. There are many, many functions. Those are two of the main ones. This is a third one that's basically the same thing as remove, but here dot remove removes it with the name. So it removes it with whatever value you have here. So if you want to remove Will, you're gonna have to type in explicitly Will. If you want to, so there you go, run. If you want to remove John, you have to actually type in John. So right now we have John, Matt, and Billy. We removed Will instead of Matt because I just changed that. Now, if I want to remove Matt now, so all we're going to have left now should print just John and Billy. We can use it by just using dot remove again and just do dot remove Matt. But there's another way. You could do friends dot pop, and pop is just like pop it out or something like that. I don't know why they named it pop, but if you want to, like, if it's hard for you to memorize that pop means remove, just like think of a way, popping the name out, popping something out. So friends.pop, it's, you don't type in Matt though. If you want to remove Matt, you don't type in Matt, you type in the index that Matt is at. So what is Matt at? It's not at 2, it's at 1, because again, computers start at 0. So this is index 0, this is index 1. So friends.pop index 1. You want to pop out the index 1. Whatever is at index 1, take it out, pop it out. So, and then we want to print friends, and all it should print now is John and Billy because we took out Matt. So print friends, run. There you go. All that's left is John and Billy. If we were to explicitly put in Matt here, it's going to give you an error because all it wants is string object cannot be interpreted as an integer. .pop expects you to put an integer. They want you to put a number in here. So you don't put like a word or anything. You put 0 or you put 1 if you want Matt. 1. If you want to take out Will, you put out 2. But yeah, so that's how it was. So let's just remove 1, and all it prints out is John and Billy. And that's how we want it. So yeah, today's class was not a lot. It was just basically getting you introduced into lists. That's what I wanted to do because the next class is a lot to take in. So I wanted to break it up. But so here's a quick exercise that I want you guys to do with me. So create a list of 5 of your favorite things. So you can do whatever you want. So I'll do it with you. You don't have to copy me. Just do whichever one you want. You can look back at mine to make sure if you're getting any errors, check with mine. So 5 of your favorite things. So I'm going to label the variable favorites. All right. And then 5 of my favorite things. So I'm going to type in basketball. I love basketball. You can do, so video games. You can do gym. So that's 3. We could do, let's see. I love sleep. So let's do sleep. And then the last thing, anything you want, I'll do my favorite color. We'll do blue. So those are my 5 favorites. And let's look at the next step. Print the second item in the list. So how do we print the second? It wants video games. Do we do favorites? So it wants you to print the second item. So print favorites at index 2. Would that work? So favorites at index 2. We want it to print video games. Let's see what this will print. It prints gym. Why does it print gym? That's the third thing in my list though. Because again, computers start at index 0. So this is 0. This is 1. This is 2. But it wants me to print the second thing in my list. The second thing in my list is video games. So you want to print favorites at index 1. It's a little bit confusing, even though the second thing is index 1. It's just something you have to remember because computers start at index 0. So now, there you go, video games. Now let's go to the next one. Add one item to the list. So I can, underneath it, favorites dot append, and I want to add another favorite of mine. Let's see, I love shoes, so dot append shoes. So now if I print favorites, it should print basketball, video games, gym, sleep, blue, and then it adds shoes to the end of it. And now it's 6 things, exactly how we wanted to do. So now the last one is to remove the third item. So what is the third item? It's gym. So there's 2 ways to remove it. You could do dot remove and just explicitly remove gym. But what if you don't know what's at the third item? Like you don't have the list favorites, and you just know that there's a list favorites, but you don't know what's in it, and they want you to remove the third item. So you don't know that the third item is gym, so you can't explicitly type in gym. So you're gonna have to use dot pop. All you know is that you want to take out the third item. So what's the third item? What's the index for the third item? It's 1 less. It's index 2 because it's 0, 1, 2. So favorites dot pop, and then you want to take it out at index 2. Even though we want the third item, you type in 2 here because 0, 1, 2, computers start at index 0. Now, if we print out favorites, oops, spelled that wrong. If we print out favorites, it should do basketball, video games, take out gym, so it should be basketball, video games, sleep, blue, shoes. Now, run. There you go. Basketball, video games, sleep, blue, shoes. It removed gym, the third item, by doing dot pop 2. Took out the second index. Second index was gym. All right. So that was basically all I wanted. It was just a quick intro. I do want to go over this real quick. These are just extra functions for lists. They're a lot. I'm not going to go over all of them, but like the main ones. So we went over pop. So these are all that there's, like the internet's obviously available if you're like creating something and you need some, let's say you were like, okay, I have this list. How do I reverse the order of the list? Search it up on the internet and there you go. Dot reverse pops up. And then if you want to, so we have right now basketball, video games, sleep, blue, shoes. What if I want to reverse it? I want it to be shoes, blue, sleep, video games, basketball. Then we basically have to do print, and then, not print yet. We want to first do favorites dot reverse. That's all. And you don't have to, you need to put the parentheses. We don't have to put anything in the parentheses. That's all you have to do. Favorite, well, it's favorites. Make sure you put the same exact variable name. Favorites dot reverse. And now if you print favorites, run, there you go. You can compare these 2 ones right here. Basketball, video games, sleep, blue, shoes. And then shoes, blue, sleep, video games, basketball. It's exact opposite. The reverse is pretty cool because reverse, you will need to use it in future examples or future classes. So reverse is a cool one. Pop, we learned. Insert adds an element at a specified position. So it's basically the same thing as dot append. But what if you dot append always adds it to the end, right? What if you want to add, for example, random, let's say like water bottle. What if you want to add water bottle just between basketball and video games? So what do you have to do? So you do favorites dot insert let's just do water because water, and I'm pretty sure it is you first do water and then you put the index that you want to put it at. So that's the word, and then I want to put it at index 1. I want it to be after basketball. Basketball is index 0, so I want it to be at index 1. So 1. So print favorites, and hopefully this works. String object cannot be interpreted as an integer. Maybe it's the other way around. I think it might be 1. You want to put it at index 1, and then water. Let's try that way. There you go. So it was the other way around. I got a little bit confused. So the thing is, it's basing off the reverse, because since we reversed it, it currently has a reverse version, and then we're adding it to the index 1 of the reverse version. So although we wanted it here, that's what it did. If we wanted to do it to that one, we basically have to just comment out all these so it doesn't apply to them. And now if we run it, there we go. So hold on, I want to show you guys both of them. So there you go. So basketball, video games, gym, sleep, blue, and then we added water at index 1. So that's how you do it. I accidentally put it the opposite way, but it should be first the index that you want it, and then what you want to add. So basketball, water at index 1, video games, gym, sleep, blue. And that's insert. So we did reverse, pop, insert. Index is pretty easy. You just return the index of the first element with the specified value. It's not that important, but you can just play around with it if you want to. Another one is sort. Sort is very important because if you have a list, what if you want to put it in alphabetical order, you know? So right now we have basketball, water, video games, gym, sleep, blue. So the first one should be basketball, and then it should be blue if we were to put it in order. So all you have to do is favorites dot sort, and then you need to always put the two parentheses, even if you're not going to put anything in it. Like you have to put something in it for insert, but you don't have to put anything for dot sort. But you can't just do dot sort and leave it like that. You need to put the two parentheses. So favorites dot sort, and now if you want to print it now, so now we just want to print favorites. There you go. So this was before it was alphabetized, and now it's alphabetical order. Basketball, blue, gym, sleep, video games, water. There you go. So that's dot sort. It's very useful. You will need to use it, obviously, if you ever have to put something in alphabetical order or anything like that. What if you want to put it in reverse alphabetical order? How would you do that? You would first sort it, and then after you sort it, you would reverse it. So you can use multiple things. So if the teacher's like, create a list and put it in reverse alphabet order. You first sort it, so now it's in alphabetical order. Then you reverse it, and now if we were to print it, it's water, video game, sleep, gym, blue, basketball. Exactly the reverse of alphabetical order. So that's cool. You can like use them together to make it work whichever way you want it to do. And yeah, that's basically all I wanted to teach you guys today. It was very short, just half an hour. I wanted to get you guys introduced into lists because next class we'll be learning for loops as well as range, and all that has to do with lists. I don't want to put all that into one class because it'll be very confusing. Next class will be the main one. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me. There's not really any homework. I want you guys to first play around with these functions, some that I haven't gone over. Make sure that you guys are using, let me just look at the questions. How did you disactivate the previous commands again? Disactivate. Oh, okay. So basically you're asking about this comment. So to comment like one at a time, all you have to do is that hashtag button that's above the number 3. So you click shift and then that. So that's how to do like one at a time. And if you want to, you can go through each one and just comment it out. But a shortcut to disactivate like your work without deleting it is you highlight everything that you want to disactivate. So you highlight it just like that. Then you hold the command button on the Mac. I'm not sure what it is exactly if you're not on a Mac, but it could still be the command button even if you're not on a Mac. But at least for Macs, this is all I know. You can search it up if it's not, but if you don't want to search it up, obviously you can just put Shift 3 for every single one. But the shortcut that I know for Macs is Command, and then I don't know if that's a backslash or a front slash. I always get confused with that. It's the one under the question mark. So Command and then the question mark button. There you go. And that's all. And then if you want to take them out, just exact same thing. Highlight what you want to take out. So I would highlight these again and then Command. There you go. So let me look at the other one. What exactly does the pop function do? So the pop function is exactly the same as the remove function, but the pop, it just takes it out by index. So let's comment all these out. Oops. Let's comment all these out. So all I have right now, you don't have to worry about everything that's commented. Just look at this. Now all I have right now is that list. So pop function, all it does is favorites dot pop, and then what index do you want to take it out? So let's say you want to take out gym. You could just take out gym by doing favorites dot remove, and then you want to remove the word gym, or you can do it by favorites dot pop. What index is gym at? 0, 1, 2. Take out whatever is at index 2. So run it. There you go. Oops. I have to also print favorites underneath it to see the change. So it did work, but you just have to print it to see the change. There we go. Took out gym. So that's basically what the pop function is. Just removes it. Is there a way to manually sort the list? Yup. I just showed you guys that at the end. I mean, like manually, by manually, do you mean like without a function? Or there is a way to do it without a function. It's with like for loops or loops like that. But the quickest way, obviously, is just using the sort function, which is just quick and all you have to do is the dot sort. But manually wise, there is a way you can sort it. You can either create a new list where you're adding each word to the new list if it's in alphabetical order. There's a way we can do that for next class once I teach you guys for loops and range. Range is a function that allows you to go through a list in a specific order. That's pretty cool. So yeah. So if there's no more questions, that's the end of today's class. It's pretty quick. I just want you guys to play around with these. I went over most of them, but like dot extend, you can use it and see what it does, and you can be like, oh, it adds the elements of a list to the end of a current list. So it's adding two lists together. Count, it just returns the number of elements within the specified value. So if you want to count, for example, friends, it's just going to give you the number of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all count is, and so on and so on. So that's today's class. If you guys have any questions, you can stay after and ask me, or you can say it in the chat. But there you go. That's it. Thank you guys.